hip-hop to me, and my parents allowed me to be able to feel that and express that and be that.
All right, and I love that because DMX is also 914 like Pete Rock, so that is definitely something I love. We got DMX fans out here? Okay, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure we have some DMX fans. Okay, go.
My name is DJ. I'm a student at Wake Forest University. I also play football there, but I'm also a DJ, music producer, engineer, business owner, and also I'm a manager of my music group too. Like for me, like hip hop, like it's like music has always been a part of my life. Like from like my dad being the coach at a high school, like going to the games, I would bring drum sets to the games and like play along with the band. Like that was my first introduction to music, and then from there, like it's always been like kind of like a give and take between music and football, and like now being able to do both and being able to do both at a high level has been amazing. It's been life changing.
Hey, I'm Jada Doughty, junior year, went to S.O.U.L State. A math major. I can say since birth, I didn't really have much of a choice but to be into music. My dad, my mom, mainly my dad really started playing music from the womb. So like everything you can think of, had me watching music videos, like MTV 80s stuff, and like Minnie Riper Jam, and anything from the 60s, Motown, 70s stuff, and then going into hip hop, because growing up I couldn't really listen to music that had like a bunch of curse words in it. So by the time I was like 8, 9, 10 years old, I started being introduced to like hardcore hip hop stuff, so like Wu-Tang, stuff like that. But now still listen to music every day, just making beats too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how like modest she was about that. So just in case you don't know, Grammy Award winning Ninth Wonder is her father. So when she said my dad put me into this, I need you to understand the dad that's behind that. And it's really interesting. I think 10 years old is a good time to get into really hardcore hip hop like that and start listening to all the cussing, because I mean, you start to develop your vocabulary and a real understanding for the world. So good job, Knife. Good job, good job. Okay, all right, we'll let you go next.
How y'all doing? My name is Tashawn. I'm the president of the Watch and Sound Wave. It's a hip hop club here on campus. I'm also an artist, entrepreneur. We all are part of a group called The Collective. Yeah, I've been really into music since I was a kid. My pops did music, my godfather, all my family, honestly. And honestly, I just found music like as an artist, as a way to escape. It was like meditation for me, coming from where I come from. I'm from Durham. So yeah, it was just like, I understood the power behind it, the power of words. And I knew I had to use that power for a greater purpose. Yeah.
All right, anybody from Bull City in here? Oh, that's so sad. Okay, it's all right. I live in Bull City, so I'm gonna just rap Bull City for right now. Okay, all right, you know, it's so interesting. Okay, so we're gonna save Brooklyn for last, right? So when I walked in, I said Brooklyn. So everybody that knows that that's like a hip hop, I think it's synonymous with a lot of things, right? But we understand when people say Brooklyn. So Dr. Monell, we're saving you for last. What was one of your biggest influences in hip hop?
So shout out to my Rams in the room. See there? Come on, let's listen. Everyone else, welcome to Ram Country. So for me, quite honestly, you know, I was born into hip hop, like, you know, literally when it was created, I was born. So by 9, 10 years old, like some of the panelists, you know, I was able to hear the first scratch or mix because of my cousins and their influence and relationships. You know, I'm from Do or Die, Bed-Stuy, peep the shit. I'm from Do or Die, Bed-Stuy, so for me, the Big Daddy Kane's, you know, he was like our GOAT, you know, growing up. And then, you know, DJ Lance. And then, of course, you know, Biggie and I, we were like same peers as far as age groups go. So for us, you know, we had our own culture in Brooklyn. Though, you know, of course, Brooklyn started in the BX. Shout out to the Boogie Down. But we had our own culture in Brooklyn. And it was nothing to be growing up in the projects, hooping on the courts, with the big boom box going off, you know, maybe a shootout or two. It was the time, sign of the times. But nonetheless, hip hop was an opportunity for street poets to tell our story, right? And what's funny to me or interesting, or the evolution, and I'll get into it with Pete Rock later, is that everybody said hip hop would be over. It was like a phase, you know, them black and brown folks, whatever. 5, 10 years after that, you saw advertisers on Madison Avenue. Any of my ad students, you would know, Madison Avenue was like the mecca for advertising back in the 80s. And you had these guys putting hip hop in their commercials, in their ads. And then, you know, we evolved into what we saw this past weekend at the Super Bowl. You know, bless them, big up to Kendrick Lamar. So I'll leave it there. So for me, Brooklyn has always been my foundation, but I've been very eclectic. My father was a Afro-Latino jazz musician, so I have a very eclectic background. I love, you know, I was born into the disco era. I was raised in the hip hop era, so a little bit of R&B and hip hop, disco, and everything else in jazz. So I'll leave it there.
I love that. And so even with that, I think it's a fusion, right? So I'm from Mount Vernon. And so for me, this was like such a pleasure to be able to be here and to see somebody that I think is just the best producer in the world, for me personally. And then also the influences of Mount Vernon were definitely heavy on the Jamaican side. So does anybody remember the song Pass the Dutchie? Yeah. Okay, all right, see, grown people in the house. Grown people in the house, y'all making me excited. So for me, it was kind of like just growing up with that, because my stepmother was Jamaican, the food, you know, everything that was melded in that, and then being able to see Heavy D drive around in the streets, right? Al B. Shore and all of this type of stuff. It was like, at the time, you saw people on television that looked like you and that reflected it, but it was also something where it felt like it was tangible to be able to touch. And so now I think, you know, with the advent of technology, we now really can reach out to people where you couldn't do that back in the day. So I want to transition a little bit because I've kind of prepped them on some things, but one of the things that we wanted to talk about that Dr. Cromartie brought up was AI and how AI is changing the way that music is being produced, is changing the way that people's voices are being actually, you know, redone, so that this way you can say that an artist that was dead is now able to kind of come back alive. So can you speak to AI and its influences on hip hop and where you think it's going?
Yeah, so I think in terms of, first of all, you know, I think the evolution of technology, I think it has its good things and its negative components, right? I think the good thing is because it allows you to be even more creative, right? And I think, you know, that's a great thing. On the negative aspect, I think there comes, from an ethical standpoint, there can be a dilemma there when you're talking about, do certain artists get credit? Are you using their name, image, and likeness, their voice, altering their voice without them receiving any credit? Is there an ethical dilemma of bringing back a voice of someone who is no longer living? And so it brings up all of those things to me, but I think there definitely needs to be some type of, I don't know, some rules in place or some ground rules in place, but I mean, we're seeing it now. We're just seeing the start of this. I can only imagine what the turnout is going to be 5 years from now. We may have AI-based albums, you know, galore. I believe, I do predict that there's going to be a Grammy-nominated AI album. I just feel like that's probably going to happen at some point. But, you know, I really do believe that just have to kind of get ahead of it now, but it does definitely bring some concern and some pause when it comes to its place in hip-hop culture.
Now, as far as you guys producing, right? When you talk about that, you can do stuff way cheaper than they used to do when it started in the 80s, right? Like you literally had to fill this crate up. You literally had to pick this up and go over everywhere. And then get your turntables, okay? And you had to pay for the records, right? So I want to transition into something where when we talk about just the way the technology is working now, the fact that what happens is now things are being rented to us in a subscription-based model, right? So whereas you could own this album, now you realize you don't own things the way that you used to own them. So can one of you guys touch on that? I feel like you might want to say something. You want to say something about that? All right, give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, so I still have crates. I still buy records. I mean, as a DJ, there's some perks of being a DJ where you can subscribe to like a record pool service, and so you have some sort of, you know, ownership of some types of things, even in a digital format. But yeah, it's like to be in that space where, like, I don't know, I can pick up, go to my buddy's house, and just like bring my laptop, create a whole track, and then be done with it, and then at the same time release it. You know, you can record that way and everything. It makes everything a lot easier. I mean, I don't have to bring all of that. I could just bring Serato and like just, and whatever, you know, digital, you know, formatted DJing program that I wanted to use, and that would be fine. But at the same time, there's something, I think there's a tangible thing that we miss. I mean, there's a lot of history tied to a record, like the Midnight Marauders record for me. Like my stepsister got that from me, and it was like one of the first records I ever had, and it was just like, wow, like that's huge. So like just having that physical copy cannot replace just playing the MP3 or the WAV file or the, you know, AIF file. It has something that has more significance in my heart, you know, than just like a digital thing. So in that sense, there's that aspect of, you know, digital versus like having a physical copy of something. So I don't know, that's where I'm at. I'm like, I really like being able to gravitate toward those memories and those tangible things because it grounds me in some ways. So.
Now, audience, I want you to make some noise. If you remember waiting for the release date and going to the store, okay, and getting a CD, and you couldn't wait to open it, and you were gonna read all of the notes inside of there, okay, and you didn't know who produced what, right? Y'all remember that? It's not the same, is it? So sad, so sad. As we transition into technology. All right, so, T. Walker, do you feel like it is forcing you to make more music because it's kind of, I'm not trying to say it's like a throwaway, but people tend to get like, okay, well, what's next? Like you put something out, you worked hard to do it, and then it's like, oh, that was good, but what's the next thing do you have? Do you feel pressured as an artist to keep trying to put out content and music and things for people?
I'm very horrible at content. So I do feel like that is something that I need to get better at to be competitive in the sport. But as far as like putting out music, I've got so much music that I haven't put out. Because that's how, like, when I get in the creative zone, I can do 20 to 30 songs in 15 days. She's seen it. My brother out there has seen it. So I don't feel pressure to put things out quickly because I'm also, at a point I have felt that way, but I'm also understanding, like, the concept of fast food versus soul food and what people really want, you know, what's going to feed them and, you know, sustain them. So that concept right there has grounded me, you know, and brought me back to really focusing on who my audience is, who it is that I'm going to get the message to, and intentionality, and it's going to land where it's supposed to land. I don't even know how to compete with AI because they got so much more going on that like I maybe even have time for it, you know, so I got to like stay in my lane. What I do recognize is that there's going to be so much lost because there's so much music being discovered today because there were artists that recorded on vinyl records and that were physical copies. There's so much digital music that if it got wiped out, there's a whole generation that would never be heard. And some people would love for us to never hear it. For me, I personally feel like music has become like a news outlet in history in itself. So I would love to be able to double back and be like, dang, that's what was happening in 2019. That's what they were speaking about. That's what was going on. The pandemic was happening. That's what happened after the pandemic. What was happening in Chicago, because that's Chief Keef. And a lot of people didn't like that voice, but I learned to appreciate the fact that like, as we speak, these things are being left behind, and I feel like my only issue with the digital thing is it can be totally lost, and we know what happens when history is lost.
Oh, definitely. Now, since both of you said entrepreneurs, what are you guys doing so that this way you can take music, make money with it, and then possibly even help like the generation that's coming up after you? So either one answer. Whichever one.
Like for me, like get into like physical sales. Oh, sorry. Get into physical sales is something like me and our group have talked about. Like although like right now everybody buys vinyl, like Target and super fans, stuff like that. Like having a physical, like something physical, I think like you talked about earlier, like you know you rent your music, like you don't get a chance like to really experience it and really experience like opening that thing up and like seeing like okay this song is here, this, that, and the third, or like listen to a sing where you get the acapella and you get a different version, you get like 2 different versions of the same song that may not be on stream or you may never hear again. Like that's something that I think that's been missing from the music industry. I think that people people want back and we can reintroduce to a new audience. Like, cause like my generation has never gotten that before. And I know people who have totally vinyls and don't have a record player at all.
But they have it though.
But
I mean, it's still a collector's item, right? So, I mean, the thing is, it would be great if they had it so they could listen to it, but at least being able to have it, that's something that is tangible that they can, you know, go ahead and listen to later. So give us.
Alright, so for me, cause I do a lot, I do graphic design, photography, I know how to mix and master a little bit, so like my roommate, for example, he an artist as well, shout out to S.O.U.L. I helped him with this whole project, and like that, I did that for free, and that connection then led me to his friends who now are paying me to like, you know, do whole projects for them and stuff like that. So I mean, if you got a talent for it, like just reach out, connection. You in college, so the connections is all here.
I like that. So y'all did hear me say you're in college, the connections are here. So reach out to your professors too, because they know a whole lot of people, okay? So Jada, for you, when you talk about like, let's say music sonically, do you feel like because you grew up in a household where your father was a producer that maybe you have a different appreciation for the sound of music? And the feel too, because that makes a difference.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a different appreciation because of growing up in a house where your father was a producer of the sound and like the feel of music? Because it's a lot of stuff that doesn't feel good, right? But do you think that because of the way that, you know, you were able to hear music in the way that you are, that it gave you a different appreciation for it?
That's a good question. I think for me, growing up, that might set me a little different from everybody else. I have hearing loss, like severe hearing loss, so I can't really necessarily hear every sound that is in the song. So I had no choice but to feel it anyway. So like all the bass, all the snares, the hats, everything that's in the song, even like the voice and how powerful it is, like I had to feel it in order to understand what's happening in the song. So yeah, I mean, that led me to like really appreciate it. Yeah, it was just a grasp in the moment type thing, so yeah.
Okay, I love that. And then I'm gonna come back over here. So from a perspective of history, and I know you're gonna touch on some of these things with Pete, but what would you say was one like really powerful thing that made you really just tune into hip hop? Like, I know you gave us some artists, but was there something that was so powerful about it where you're like, this is something that is a part of my life, I'm never gonna be able to get rid of it, this is ingrained in me?
I mean, great question. For me, it's real simple in the sense that, you know, growing up, we never felt like our voices were heard. So it was just real simple. Nobody cared about our community. Nobody cared about my projects. There was violence. There was, you know, I grew up during the crack epidemic. It was just a lot of poverty, a lot of violence. But the artists at that time, you know, they took those experiences and they put it on a national stage, right? And then people started paying attention to what we were doing. So for me, that was impactful. How they used their voice. You know, I oftentimes compare like hip hop to like the internet or social media. Like you had instances where it's great and it's dope. Then you have instances where people use it for evil and bad stuff. But needless to say, overwhelmingly for me, it was life altering because I loved music, and this new genre was us. The way technology and this digital space is our students today. They were born into it the way I was born into hip hop. So for me, it's one and the same.
I think that's a really good point because one of the things that I always like to look at is when stuff happened, right? So, can you remember, or do you think that there are certain memories that you have, and I'll definitely want you to answer this, that are tied to a song, okay? So, you can't remember what the year was, but you might remember what you were wearing, okay? Because you were at a certain thing, and a certain song came on, and it just kind of ties those memories together for you. I got you on that one, right?
I remember when U.L came out.
First of all, yes ma'am. Yes ma'am, Uchiwali.
And the memory.
Look it up, y'all. If you don't know about Uchiwali.
The memory was I was in the car with my family. And this, shout out to 102 Jams. And they played the song, and it was just like, it brought up this whole conversation, kind of like where we are today, kind of like when history repeats itself, like, what is happening with this generation? Like, what is this song? You know what I mean? And it's just like, for me, it was an interesting conversation to have because what ended up happening is I was like, but wait a minute, y'all had the Isley Brothers and all these things back in the day. But that for me was interesting because it was kind of like a turning point in terms of sensory and songs being played on the radio. So that's a memory that I will never forget.
Oh wow, SK, do we have Uchiwali? No. You don't want to hear Uchiwali? Okay, I was going to tie it into what we were talking about though, okay? We were going to tie it in. It's Nas, okay? So, All right, so since we have a disgruntled audience member who does not want to hear. Okay, that's all, that's it. Thank you so much, thank you for participating. Okay, so now that we've had our Uchiwali fix, we're going to transition into the topic at hand, which is Pete Rock, right? So I'm going to start down on the end over here, and I want you to tell me whatever your favorite Pete Rock beat or song is. So let me know what yours is. No, we go have it first.
You said favorite Pete Rock beat.
Beat or song.
Okay, I'll probably say it's hard to choose, really. It's probably between A Little Soul. I'll probably say, yeah, that's probably beat-wise. A Little Soul, We Roll.
I love We Roll. It's one of my favorites. Yes.
Really good beat. Ain't Hard to Tell. My favorite Pete Rock song, which is him like rapping on it and him doing the beat also, is number one, Soul Brother.
Oh,
that is
okay.
my favorite.
Okay, we got black fists going up in the audience and everything. I like that. Okay, what's yours?
Mine would probably be either I Gotta Love or Mecca of the Soul Brothers, not the album, but the song.
Mecca and the Soul Brother.
Mecca of the Soul Brothers.
Okay, of the Soul Brother. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay. Yes, all right. So what you got?
Nas, The World Is Yours. But,
okay.
and the only reason I'm adding the but, because I made a new discovery. So there's a rapper by the name of 38 Special.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear you say yes in such a nice, but anyway, 38 Special. So once I started listening to him and I really began to love his music, I dug into like old stuff. And he has a song with Styles P, and I think it's named Support. But that beat is absolutely crazy. Like 38 Special did, him and Styles did their thing, but the beat is absolutely crazy. And I grew up in the church choir and in the band, so I love the sounds that accompany voices, and that's one of them joints.
Oh, okay, all right. What we got?
For me, I grew up playing 2K, so if you know, it's Troy. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. And then Nas is one of my favorite artists, so yeah, it ain't hard to tell. And The Word Is Yours.
I want to let you know how that touches my heart. Because Nas is my absolute favorite artist too. And it's so good because you know how if you have a 5-year gap, a 10-year gap, but a lot of times we're talking about a 20, 30-year gap, right? And so when you think about when some things came out, some of y'all weren't even born yet. So you don't really understand what it was like in these streets when Illmatic came out. When Illmatic came out, y'all don't really understand. See, you know how everybody likes to, and I'm just gonna go off script here. You know how everybody likes to be like Jay-Z, but I need y'all to understand that that first Jay-Z album was not going crazy like that. If you really been in this and you really remember hip hop. But that Illmatic though, don't play with it. Don't play with it. Don't play with it. Okay, all right, sir, what's yours?
I'm gonna rock with Troy, and then I do like the instrumentals though. That's some good stuff. So
Okay.
I'll rock with that.
Okay. Ready for yours. It's not what you Wally, I know.
It is not. For me, I have two. The first one is off the new album with Common, Chi-Town Do It. That for me, with that Kanye sample, is just so fire. And then I would say The World Is Yours, that Ahmad Jamal sample on the loop is, I'm a huge Ahmad Jamal jazz fan, so that did it for me. Yes, rest in peace.
Yes, for sure. Okay. I can't wait to hear what yours is.
Well, it's not that much different than, I mean, everybody has good taste up here, so definitely Mecca and So, that's my joint right there. Mecca and So, and she's not here, it don't matter, but I have a former student that we used to joke about, her name is Mecca, and we used to go back and forth because she was Mecca, I was the Soul Brother, and it was like a funny little interaction. And then Troy, for a lot of reasons, obviously, yeah.
Okay, and mine is definitely Troy. Now, Shalee and I have battled over this, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, you heard DJ SK play Scenario earlier, right? So the thing is, this is the reason why we battled. Shalee looked at the fact that it was a compilation, and it was so many great artists on Scenario, right? And then essentially that was kind of like the breakout for Busta Rhymes, okay? Y'all know about the Dungeon Dragon and all of that, right? But when you hear Troy and it comes in and the beat is there, it's one of those things where it is eternal because of the fact that everybody has lost somebody, okay? It's also the storytelling that is in there that talks about the family and the unit and all of that. And no matter what, so I'm just gonna tell y'all this, I have already put this in my will, Troy must be played at my funeral. I'm just saying that, and Nas and Wu-Tang, okay? So all of that at the funeral. But that right there to me was the epitome of the best song because I think we could definitely feel it. And I know they're gonna get into it a little bit later so that this way Pete can talk about influences and all of that. But it's one of those things where it is a song that I think everybody can relate to. Having your aunt, your uncles there, your father, you know, a family that wasn't necessarily exactly on the up and up the way that you might have wanted it to be, you know, while the baby maker slides. So, you know, all of that goes into that song, it's like, honestly, to me, one of the best songs. And then that production, amazing. All right, so guess what's happening, guys? We are getting close. We're getting real close, okay, to your featured guest for this evening. But what we're gonna do is wrap up. I want everybody to go through really quickly and tell me, now that we've gotten past 50 years of hip hop, what is your prediction for the future? And yours was really awesome. Okay, so that AI Grammy album probably will happen. But we're gonna go through kind of quickly, and you guys tell me, what's your prediction? What do you wanna see for the next 50 years of hip hop?
More transitions, you know, evolutions, genres within hip hop itself.
That's definitely needed because we need to separate some stuff out, okay?
I think this year, especially 2025 and moving forward, is the year of the independent artist.
Ooh, yes. La Russell, have y'all heard of La Russell? La Russell is killing it out there in Vallejo, California, and just making a new way for people to make money. And and not only people, but also the audience that listens to be able to make money. So if you haven't heard of La Russell, please look him up, okay? All right?
What I want to see is a lot more intergenerational knowledge exchanged. I think that's one of the things that is maybe missing the most, is that not that the old heads don't have the knowledge or that the young heads don't want it. It's just a matter of like that bridge and connection of being able to share that is going to be important in being able to usher the next, generation of hip hop through. So.
Yeah, okay, I love that. And I mean, we need that in general, right? So then in hip hop and there, because it's so interesting to me how people sample music and don't know who the original was. And I'm not even talking about the original rap artist that sampled it from somebody else, okay? The original and then the rap artist that they sampled it from. Is anybody mad that a lot of our stuff that was in the 2000s is getting resampled? And they fooling us when the radio comes on and you, okay, all right, I just want to check. Okay, okay.
I'm sure it was a lot of people that was mad back then that Johnson was getting sampled too. But it's a combination of what they said. I want to see a lot more independence, which I feel like we're going to have to see as people are searching for more freedom. But what he said about that intergenerational connection, because I feel like hip hop is still fairly young. It's 52 years old, what will be 52 in August. But this generation of artists, we losing so many people to drugs or to violence or whatever. So I want to see more elders in hip hop. I want to see people age in hip hop and be celebrated for living and getting their flowers and things of that nature. So that's what I want to see.
Me personally, I think if I had to say, it's a lot of things like going on in the world. Like for example, like with the Super Bowl, you got artists like Doechii winning the Grammy. I feel like hip hop was like he said, a lot of bad factors was going on in hip hop, like artists dying from drugs, gun violence, because it was just going up like this. And now I think people are starting to realize like it's just not right. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like real hip hop, like the real essence, like that God, I don't know how to explain it, the God factor of hip hop, like the origin of hip hop is about to come back. And because, for example, somebody was like, I don't listen to Kendrick like that, that's that music. I'm like, okay. So, but then I showed them one of the songs we got dropping this weekend called The Collective Freestyle. And they was like, nah, this is fire, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's just like, they hadn't really seen it from nobody their age, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's more of us coming around, just in general, like the Super Bowl, like them big stages, it's gonna change, like make this positive change. Yeah.
What I want to see from hip hop is like, I think that boom bap should come back. Like I know from us, like for example to us, like we have a lot of people who like even our age, like who like the music that we make. Like it's like something that they don't really hear. Like a lot of people are tired of hearing the same thing. I'm tired of hearing Rod Wave make the same song 10 times. I'm tired of hearing Drake put the same songs on different albums. Like it just gets to a point where it gets repetitive and it's like there's no feeling in the songs anymore. Like even you say what's up in the 2000s, I hate to hear that. As somebody who DJs and who does make music, like I can't tell you how mad I get whenever I hear something like my teammates play songs in the locker room, I get mad, and it's like that repetitive nature and stuff like that. But like nobody's going back to the 90s and bringing back that music that feel good and music that's gonna like actually like make you think and that's gonna tell a story. Whether like sad, happy, like bad, who cares? But it's gonna make you feel something inside and that you can relate to.
He was trying to shout out his album, that's why the mic didn't work, but it's okay. He said, go find T-Walk on Spotify. I'm gonna shout him out though, okay.
All I'm gonna say is, what he said about the collective, we are gonna bring real hip hop back. Some people, when I say we're gonna bring real hip hop back, we're about to bring real hip hop back, like sampling, noir sampling, everything. Y'all just be on the lookout. and listen.
Oh, he got one more. What?
The collective freestyle drops this weekend on Jamla Records. So, you know, all y'all can stream that. You know, if you want a link, you know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, everybody got the link right there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, T-Walk. Yeah.
Y'all just go find T Walker on Spotify. New album coming March 21st. Y'all done heard it here first. HeavyEnergyUniversity.com. I drop bombs.
You know what? I appreciate it. Take the opportunity. So let me tell you what I want to see more of really quickly. I want to see more individuality in people's voices, because there used to be something distinctive that I don't think we have, because I think people are trying to sound alike. And I want to see more of our OGs being respected for the groundwork that they laid, because this wouldn't be here if you didn't have those OGs in hip hop. So that's what I really want to see, instead of people saying, oh, you an old head. Okay, I might be, but you learn a whole lot from the old heads. I like to call them seasoned instead of old heads, but you know, that's it. So for the OGs, I would love for them to get more respect for what they've done, and then also maybe for some people to come back out and do some new projects. All right, so have you guys